Well, hello and welcome. My name is Mark Huber. Delighted to welcome each and every one of you on this very special call today. And why is it special? Well, first of all, because I believe that when we learn something of great value, it should be our pleasure and obligation to share it with others. And secondly, because you'll realize very quickly into the call that the information that you are listening to is not only cutting edge, but could very well be life-changing for you as well. This is why I have Alan Ogden on the line with us today. Alan studied nutrition in 1996 and then went on to study energy medicine in the years 2000 and 2001. And due to his research and personal health regime, his disease went into remission. Now, because of his personal journey, Alan devotes his time and energy to helping people feel better, and not only that, but in many instances, help them reclaim their life back from illness and poor health. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Alan. So welcome, Alan. You're on.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for putting this together and allowing me a place to talk to people. It is really a pleasure for me now to talk to people and tell them a little bit about myself and tell them my story. I want to say, first of all, that when you do have a brain injury like I suffered, one of the most amazing things that happens to you is you get this fear of talking about it, because when you have an injury like that, there's so many misunderstandings in the general population about the brain and brain injury. And when you're the adult at the table that's making the mess and dribbling down your chin and embarrassing your family, it becomes really difficult for you to actually accept who you are and what's going on, and then, to do something about it. And really, it's so fantastic, my journey. There's times, of course, when I felt that, the world was really against me, all life was against me, all those kinds of things. You can't help those emotions, but to go through the process that I did and come to the end of what medical science understood about healing a person's brain and allowing you to function normally, and to then, turn to alternatives and find the path forward that led me to the point where I am today. I'm happy to tell you that I'm almost 60, just a few weeks from being 60 years old, and I can go out and ride a bike. I can do all of the things that a person would want to do at age 60, enjoy my granddaughter and all those kinds of things. So I'm hoping that this call will give others the hope that they're looking for, and some guidance as well as to, the opportunities that exist when you come to a wall. I'm going to tell you a little story first, though, if that's okay. I like telling stories, and I think people like to hear them. But I remember having this discussion a few years ago, and I'm sure you'll agree too, Mark, that the hardest things for us to imagine as human beings are, particularly when we're young, it's really hard for us to imagine being old. It's really hard for us to imagine our body and our state of mind and all those things many years down the road. We're healthy, we're strong, we're young, we're robust, we feel there's nothing that can take us down. And I remember having that conversation with somebody one time, and then a few weeks later being in the hospital, and, they're circling around and all the things that are going on and nobody knowing what's going on with your body. And thinking to myself, wow, this is just incredible that I had this conversation with somebody, because I was intent on having a number of pharmacies and really making a difference and, really making my mark in life. And I didn't realize that my mark was going to be a little different, not standing and, dispensing drugs to people, but actually providing them hope for when that time in their life had come to an end. And so it's really interesting how things have come around. And the story I want to tell you is back in 1976. So I was in university in 1976. We had a visiting pharmacology professor. And because he was visiting, he wasn't a tenured professor at college, one day he said to us, look, I'm just going to tell you the truth. And the truth is going to shock you. So for all the people that listen to this call, the truth is going to shock them as well. The medical profession, with all its routines and protocols and regimes, only has the cure to 27 illnesses. And over half of those cures are nutritional. So if we break that down, Mark, 27, you divide that in half, we're talking maybe 13 or 14 diseases that exist on this planet that the medical profession actually knows the cure to.
Not very many.
And you and I know that there's way more than 14 diseases that people are dealing with in their lives. And so when we look at that fact, I was sitting in the class, I was truly shocked at that. Then he went on to say, I know that you're in university, you're here, and you're going to go out and save the world and all those kinds of things. He said, but I have a prophecy that I wanted to make. And he was very bold in his statement. He said, you know, there's going to be lots of research, there's going to be lots of drugs discovered because that's what people think are the answer right now. But I'm going to tell you that in the future, proteins and amino acids are the medicine of the future. Now, I don't know where that particular gentleman is today. That's of course 1978, and we're in the year 2012, so many, many years ago, and he was an older gentleman there. So maybe he isn't around to actually see that what he said in 1976 is actually the experience that I had. So in suffering from my situation and getting on to 7 or 8 different medications all at the same time and still not having the release of the symptoms, going back to the doctor and him suggesting that we try yet another specialist, and me saying to the doctor, so I'm going to go to another specialist, and essentially what he's going to do is prescribe 1 or 2 more medications because that's really all that you know. And my doctor said, yeah, that's exactly right. That's probably what's going to happen. He's going to go there. He's going to look at what we've done. He may take something away, but likely he's going to add something else to it. And I said to him, you know, really, I don't see the point in that. I just really don't see what, if 7 medications are not alleviating my symptoms, there's something else that's going on, and I need to go find out what that is. Now, amazingly enough, and I'm so filled with gratitude for this particular physician that I had at the time, he said to me, Alan, listen, we've been friends for a long time. You've practiced pharmacy here. We know each other. I'll support you. I'm going to give you an open laboratory privileges. You can get your blood tested any time. Just let me know what you're doing as you go through this process. Let me know what you're trying. Let me know what you're doing. So, you know, if you do end up in the hospital, I'll have an idea. You keep me informed. I'll support you. And he did. He was great support for me as I started down this journey. So one of the first decisions I made is that I have to get off these medications, and I really have to find out who I am. Who is this? You know, what is this body that I'm dealing with? What is it capable of? What can it even do? And so I remember the day that I chose and made that decision that I was going to go off all of the medications. And I know for people that are in that situation, that's a very, very, it's a scary day. But you kind of, in my mind, here's what I was thinking, and I don't know if anybody else has thought this, but I was thinking it can't get any worse. I mean, I'm taking these things. I'm really not feeling any better. How on earth can it possibly get worse? And so I made the decision, and I had the support of my wife and my doctor. I quit all of the medications, and I went through, about 72 hours of very frightening nightmares and the sweats and the delirium tremens, all the things that people go through when they withdraw from medication. I went through that, and then I began to understand exactly what I was either capable of or not capable of, and really came to the realization that I needed to heal my brain. Somehow I needed to find things that were going to help heal my brain. Antioxidants are very, very common nowadays, and back 20 years ago, we can't even imagine 20 or 25 years ago how things were. Antioxidants were a brand new thing. As a matter of fact, at that time, it was illegal in Canada to label a product as an antioxidant because oxidation is a process of life, and the government stance at the time is if you were going to give an antioxidant, that meant you were anti-life. And so, people were putting products in the market with subtle messages like this is vitamin AO. So you had to fill in the blank that meant antioxidant. So it was really quite interesting to see the evolution of that. But people have forgotten. Now antioxidant is a very common term. And there's over 4,000 different antioxidants on the market today. Amazing how many antioxidants, and we see, the next newspaper or the next show is going to feature some new antioxidant. I discovered something very, very critical about antioxidants, and I'm going to tell people that. But before that, I'm going to say that that's where I first started, because really that was emerging science at the time, how antioxidants and reducing the amount of oxidative stress in your body and getting rid of inflammation could actually have a positive effect on your health. And so I first started a really generous course of antioxidant therapy, high-dose vitamin D, higher-dose vitamin C, some different juices and fruits and things that were high in antioxidants. And I did find that helpful because reducing the inflammation in your body, getting rid of that inflammation, of course, brings some immediate symptomatic relief, immediate pain relief, some immediate relief to the discomfort. So that's where I started, because it's really all we knew at that time. And then, a little while later, I started thinking about protein, because his words came back to me from 1976, and now, we're like 20 years down the road, and I started thinking about this particular gentleman and protein. So I started really looking at protein and the value of protein and amino acids. Most people know that proteins are made up of individual components called amino acids. And they might remember a number of years ago there was a big to-do about the amino acid tyrosine, and it was taken off the market for a while because for really insignificant reasons, but it was taken out. And it was really ultimately what was going on was we were beginning to research, we were beginning to understand the value of these little single chemicals called amino acids, and that they did have particular purposes in our body. And now we know that the amino acid leucine actually is very important in the turning on and off of our pancreas. Arginine is very important for the turning on and off of nitrous oxide in our body. And so we are beginning to understand these. But I just started taking a complement of amino acids at the time. And I can tell you that I was taking my antioxidants, I added some protein, and that I started to feel better. And then a real a miracle happened. It really is a miracle, although it doesn't sound like it at the start. But it's really a miracle. 4 of my friends were diagnosed with cancer all in 1 week. So I get these phone calls from my friends, Alan, I have cancer, what should I do about it? And I had actually moved from Alberta out to British Columbia, out to be beside the ocean, and somewhere where the barometric pressure didn't change so much, and somewhere where I could have the opportunity to be outside pretty much every day of the year and go for a walk and all those kinds of things. And so I hadn't been really paying much attention. I was on my own, doing my own journey, as if I can use that term. And it just shocked me. Like, wow, 4 of my friends all in 1 week are diagnosed with cancer. And that's really the subject of another call, but all about cancer and what I've learned about it. However, I phoned a doctor friend of mine back in Alberta, and I told him the story, and he said this word to me. He said, Immunical.